Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and thank you for joining this live stream on discovering Neo4j AuraDB with Michael and myself, Alexander. Hi, Michael. How's it going?
Hey, Alex. Good.
Hey.
Yeah, recovering from last week, I guess, and all the travel. And
Yeah.
no, going well. Sun's shining. Everything is good. And
Yeah.
had a quiet weekend this time. Not doing much,
Yeah.
just resting and getting out into the park a little bit. Such.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah.
And reading. Yep. I'll need to finish my book to follow your recommendations then next.
Yeah, let me know if you like it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I did. I didn't do much yesterday. I mean, I spent another couple of hours, yet another time in the train. So my weekend was very short.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Actually, last night I I fell asleep early and then I woke up at 1 a.m. or so. So I started to read some stuff and started to set up local stable diffusion on my computer. So I downloaded like 20 gigabytes of image models, trained image models and upscalers and control net and all the other stuff to get some of the examples running. And some of it worked. I wanted to do the QR code thing with, creating nice pictures that still serve as a QR code, but I'm not there yet. So I'm still working on that bit. But I'm glad because setting it up on Apple Silicon was a little bit more involved, but I got it at least to run so that all the pieces are in place. And now I have to understand a little bit what I'm doing, like with there's so many options and so much that you can, tune, control, set up in terms of like the pipelines of generation and filtering and upscaling and applications of additional LoRa, fine-tuning models and all the other stuff. So it's other different to like just prompt engineering with LLMs. So this image stuff is much more involved, I find. Because it's not just a prompt; it's also like gazillion other parameters and other things to know.
Yeah.
So there are definite jobs there for people that understand all the bits and details and can generate reliably good AI images as such.
Yeah, it's not so easy. I mean, you see all these great examples everywhere, and you think, oh, this is easy. I can do the same, and then you get an empty prompt, and then you type something, and then say, oh, I want this and that, and then get 4 images back or whatever. And you realize, actually, that's not what I envisioned. And then you add more details, and you think about it, but you have to find the right prompts. You have to specify what you want, and then still, sometimes you get a hand with 6 fingers and confusing.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. But I think Midjourney is already doing a really good job at making it really easy for users with the Discord bot. Because you can also see what others are doing and kind of see what kind of parameters they're using and what prompts they're using. And to be honest, I found the Midjourney Discord really relaxing and enjoyable. Like unlike TikTok or Instagram, where it's like so much like just crazy ad style stuff and really like exhausting. So it's actually really relaxing to just watch the scrolling on Midjourney with all the new images that pop up. And so I found it quite calming experience, to be honest. It's quite nice. Yep.
It's good.
Cool.
Maybe that's at some point when you're a little bit more knowledgeable about the thing, that could be a topic.
That could be an interesting one to see. Just to demonstrate
what you did
use
and
it.
how to guiding.
Actually, I wonder, Alex, if we should do like an LLM stream or so, right? So because Neo4j is now doing also like internal work on like integrating with Vertex AI, with OpenAI, also with Microsoft, to kind of highlight some of those things, right? Tomasz did a bunch of things, and Noah and Oscar and John and others, and I did a bunch of things as well. So it would be kind of nice to have a stream where we do like LLM or like ML integrations with knowledge graphs or so, and have like a bunch of episodes on that.
Absolutely.
For each episode, cover one area or one project.
Exactly. Cover a couple of topics, couple of areas, and discuss a little bit what's going on and how to use,
That could be really
and how
good
to
fun.
combine the tools, how to combine the technologies, right?
Exactly.
We showed a little bit with the Graph GPT demo that Varun developed, and with Jason, his mock graph data generator that also relies a little bit on that. But I think there's definitely but yeah, let us know in the comments. So if you watch this and think, oh, LLMs, ML, all these topics are interesting. You want to know more how to combine them with graph technology or with Neo4j in particular, then that would give a good indication for us what
I think that would be worthwhile.
what we should go for. Yeah,
and we can also get people from the cloud architects team that did like the Microsoft and Google integrations as well. We did like Epoch integrations for OpenAI and Vertex AI as well. So there's a lot of fun things that you can also try yourselves, right? So from that perspective, it's not just us demoing stuff, but it's also really practical things that you can try yourself as well. Right?
Exactly. But it's like you said, your experience, it is a little bit involved, and you get lots of things you need to prepare and set up, and then sometimes this puts people off. At least I mean, speaking of my experience, if I need to install 20 different things and it's all very confusing and I don't know what to do, then maybe I think, oh, well, maybe not. But if there's a guide, and
Cool. Yeah, I like
the
idea. Yeah, that sounds good.
Good. All right. Before we go into today's topic, Notes 2023, a call for papers is still open. So if you go to either neo4j.com/notes23 or dev.neo4j.com/notes23, and let me put that also in the chat, there you can obviously submit your talk. So if you have a graph topic, if you have anything that is, we have identified a couple of key themes for this year. So visualization will be one, graph data science will be another one, and application development will be another one. If you have something on these 3 points, then definitely submit something. If you think, oh, I have something else, also submit something. So no matter what, if you have something on LLMs, which is sort of GDS, sort of app development, it doesn't quite fit somewhere in particular, definitely submit. If you have something on anything else that is graph related, please also think about it. It's going to happen live. It's going to be fun, and it's in October, so we have plenty of time. But the call for paper ends this month. So
and it's also 24 hours, right? So that means if you're like in the Asian time zone in APAC somewhere and you want to submit something, or in Europe or in the US or in the Americas, we have like for all the different time slots, there's a lot of potential and possibilities, right? So because of course we have 24 hours of time to cover, so we are looking really for a lot of submissions. So please go ahead and submit. That would be really great.
And if you don't know if your topic fits, or if you want to talk to us first before you submit, there's always options. So you can obviously reach out to us in the forum. There is a specific notes channel. There is also the Discord server is a specific notes channel. So you can reach out there, or you can ping us.
There's also a notes email as well.
Or a notes email, exactly. Send us an email if you're not quite sure, or if you have any other questions that the website does not answer, then reach out and let us know. But would be great to see you there, see your presentations in October.
Exactly. Or if you know someone whom you want to see to speak, right? So then remind them and nudge them into submitting, right? So sometimes we'll just need a little nudge. And the other thing is also we have both lightning talks as well as full talks. So if you or someone else wants to do rather like only like a 15-minute talk on a very specific subject, then please do this as well. Besides the regular talks, you also have the option for lightning talks too. Super.
Cool. Yeah, and today I think today we do a little bit different. So I think I'll
Yep.
skip this one. But just as a reminder for Neo4j, what is Neo4j AuraDB? It's a free version of Neo4j AuraDB, the graph database as a service offering from Neo4j. So you get, and maybe just to clarify, it's Neo4j is the software, it's also the name of the company, but AuraDB also runs Neo4j. So there's no difference really. There's some difference, of course, but there's still you get a graph database. Which you can use in the cloud, and there's some limitations to it for the free version, which is mainly sizing. So you get 200,000 nodes and 400,000 relationships, which with the other, there's a paid tier, professional and enterprise tier, which take away these limitations. But generally, these are good enough for testing and for playing around with it. You get the new workspace, which includes Neo4j browser, data importer, and Bloom. And it's free forever. So as long as you like to keep your project, it will be yours. The only thing that could happen is that it's potentially being paused for unuse, but you can always go into your dashboard and wake it up again, and then it's there as you left it. Exactly. Today we wanted to show a couple of the Neo4j guides that are now available from the Aura console and from the Aura dashboard, basically, where in Workspace, so where we had added a couple of things to make it easier for new people to learn and to get their journey going. So let me switch to here, and let me get the banners out of the way. Yep, here we go.
Super.
And you are already logged in. So
yes, exactly. So really quickly, so that we don't need to wait for the database to be created. I already created a free database. I called it Get Started, and then just clicked on Open. And actually, just today, our team launched this new guide experience where when you open Workspace, you get the guides presented. You can actually, you can also get them back if they go away. There's this little tutor or like graduation hat icon on the top right that you can use. Just wanted to.
Yeah, and that's new, right? So there used to be just the question mark item.
Actually, that's new. Exactly. So there used to be just the question mark item, but now there's also this guides item, which you can also always click to get them back, right? And some of you might remember that we already worked through the Getting Started guide at some point, which basically goes through data import and querying and exploring the data really quickly, like really in 10 minutes total for everything. And now the new guides are basically more detailed on each of those. And I thought, because it was just released today, I wanted to use the opportunity to showcase and demo it so that we can see what's in there and what's worth it. So we would start with the import guide, then look at the explore data, and then querying at the end, right? So it should take us like the 30 minutes roughly to get through these. And let's see how we go. Okay, so if I am logged in, I have my guide, and I click on the import data guide. I probably need to go back to the beginning. So each of these guides has a lot of text, so don't be afraid. But it explains kind of in detail what you're doing, how you're, meant to process through the guide and so on, right? So this introduction talks a little bit about data importer. That's a simple, powerful tool to get your data into Neo4j, to model and map existing CSV files, and you can basically configure all of this, right? And it also points back to the Getting Started guide. If you haven't gone through this, it's usually worthwhile doing that as such. Okay, if I click next, it says to get started, download and unzip this file of CSV. So it's a zip file. And actually something nice in the new guides is they have these kind of underlined areas. And if you look at this, then it kind of highlights this in the UI, right? So the rest goes gray, and then it basically highlights this, right? So I can just go kind of just hover over them. I don't even need to click. Then it basically it highlights them. That's something that our colleague Adam actually added. So I already download these files, and Why is it doing things? I basically just have these CSV files on my local machine, and I just drag and drop them here into the UI. Right.
Nice.
Okay. So now it kind of talks a little bit about the files, the CSV files, and that they need to have a header and at least one row, and what they look like. So this is kind of the order details file with order ID, product ID, unit price, and so on. So what you would kind of expect from as an export from a relation database, for instance, right?
Yep.
It also has this thing here where it says, are you having trouble? These come up now and then in the guides, where it basically allows you to just click a button to achieve the same thing that you do like interactively now, right? So which is also nice. So if you really struggle, then you can just click this button and get the same thing as well, right?
Yeah,
and
if you're sitting, maybe if you sit behind a firewall or something, you're not able to download stuff or something like that. You can do that.
Exactly. So so it talks a little bit about the CSV file, and there's basically there's a product and there's an order ID. An order and a product will be kind of our entities that we will create, and it contains relationship connecting them, right? And the product CSV and order CSVs is each of them, like it's the products and the orders. That's kind of what it says down here. So now we're kind of getting started. It says click the add node button. This is this button here, right? Little. There's also this one here, which it says add node label. So we can just click this and give it a label order. So we can either give it a label up here, or we can just click into the node and call it order. And then it says map a file. So there's a file our file pop-up, and there's if I click on this thing, it says select this file. So I get again this highlight, right? So and I say this is my orders file. Pick the orders file, and now we can use the map from file button, this one over there, to add order ID, order date, and require date. I'm not 100% sure why the require date is in there, but so be it. And so which gives us like these three properties now. And then it says also change, edit the name order ID to ID, and change the type to from integer to string. Okay, so we change the type to string. Can also make this panel a bit bigger. And here I can just call this ID. And so we have done the things that are in our to-do list here. And then we're good, right? Usually in the box, it basically just explains the initial names are taken from the CSV file columns, but you can adjust and change them as you want to, right? That's good. And now it's about setting an ID. So how do I find an order? How do I address an order? So that's done via the ID field. Again, we have this little ID box here, which should be highlighted, which is down here on the bottom of the right side, but for some reason the highlighting doesn't work. It should actually. And it automatically, for us, it automatically sets the ID here because the ID has an ID in its name, basically. But if your ID is something like SSN or ISBN or something like that, then you would have to select the ID manually. And if there's an ID selected, there's also a green check mark on your node as well, right? So, and then it says do the same with the product node, right? So we can click again on add a node here, create a product node, map the file, and it says map product ID and product name. Okay, map from file, product ID, product name, and change this to ID again, and change this to string again, right? Okay, this ID is set as an ID, and both have a green check mark, right? So all good. So Tarek is asking a question. If you are using Sonar to ingest logs on-prem, how does this work with AuraDB? I'm hearing you have to turn on CloudWatch. What is possible? Is it possible without this? Aura has, I think they're currently working on a feature for log shipping Right now, Aura has an manual log export, at least for the Pro version. For Enterprise, I think the log shipping could already be in there direct, but you can just open an Aura support ticket, and then they should help you with this as such in detail. Cool. So we created our product node here, so it should be good to go. 5 steps already done, and now it's about the relationship, right? It says your data concerns orders and products, and we have the contains relationship. And for nodes, we use camel case. So if I click on these links, it opens the wiki pages basically for camel case and snake case. But I hope that we understand what it is, right? So camel case basically has capitalized first letters for multiple words even, and snake case has the capitalized all caps letters with underscores instead of spaces.
Yeah.
Right. So we now create a relationship. It says hover by the edge of the order node circle, and you'll see a plus sign. So that's actually new. This, Alex, I'm not sure if you've seen this before. So this is now a plus cursor here. And if you drag this out, a relationship, so the cursor is new.
Yeah.
And then it says in the mapping details panel, there's a type section, which is also currently not highlighted, but it's up here. So, and we should.
It highlights the whole thing, right? It did.
Yeah, on the second. So there are two actually, right? So here it highlights the whole thing.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Actually, right here it highlights the whole thing, and this should highlight actually just the thing up here, but that doesn't.
Just the beginning. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So and then yeah, exactly. So it currently doesn't have a green check mark, so we need to link the two first, but it's I think on the next page. And but you can also delete it. So if you accidentally created something, then you can delete this here, and you can also reverse direction of the relationship with this button up here on the top right. Okay, next we're mapping files to relationships. We again in our files panel we pick in the file dropdown. Why is this also not working? The order details one, and then we now see two ID columns here in this one. So we want to map order, meaning order ID from the file, to product ID, product.id, which is product ID in the CSV file. Right? So we basically just pick from the CSV file whatever represents the order for the order side and whatever represents the product for the product side. Right?
Yeah.
And then it talks a little bit about additional graph model pin. Now everything has a green check mark, right? As you can see, even on the relationship, below the relationship, there's a green check mark. And if you look at the CSV file here, you see that there's also unit price, quantity, and discount in there, so which are good properties for the relationship. So we can add them to the relationship directly by, again, saying map from file and then pick these 3 relationships here, click on confirm, and then it automatically turns them into float integers and floats, basically, as types, right? So this looks good. And everything is green. Or it also says when we map here from file, we don't need to include order ID and product ID because they're already used for mapping the start and end connection, start and end node for the file, right? So just the other properties, such. Cool. So we've done this. And then it talks a little bit about other stuff, which I kind of want to skip because it's a little bit confusing. To talk other people and location things. It's basically for a CSV file that has everything in one CSV file as such, right? So, perhaps you should do this. So if I click on this, it loads the new model, and then you need to basically create new relationships like person lives in city, lives in, and you see because everything is already in one file here. There's only one file to select, so it auto selects the file, and it also auto maps the start and end node for the relationships as well. So that's actually something that's in country. So it basically does this automatically. You don't need to do anything if everything is in one file. then you don't need to do additional work. So then data importer already is smart enough to know how things map together, right? So that's just a quick detour for denormalized files, where you have everything in one file, basically.
Okay.
The source, the target, and the relationship, right? Okay, let's reload our Northwind model. It's really nice about these buttons, right? So you can just click the button and then it resets everything to what you want it to, which is really nice. And so we have what has to be mapped on a node, a label, an ID, and at least one property. And for relationship, it has to be the type, start and end node. And that's it, right? So, and then it gets a green check mark and then we can go ahead. Okay, in the next step, we look at a preview. So we have mapped our data, but do we know if we made any mistakes or so? Not really, right? So we see our model, but fortunately, there's this preview button here that we can also highlight, right? They have the preview button here that we can click, and then it samples the first few hundred lines of each file. And you can look into those and see, okay, is this mapping stuff correctly? Here, there's also a sidebar. I see orders and products, and I see also, are they correctly mapped as such? Do I have my relationship properties mapped as well? If I click on a relationship, and are my node properties for the order also really mapped correctly? So if I hover over these, it also maps in as datetime. Oh no, as string actually.
A string. I think we didn't specify, did we?
Yeah, we could have mapped them as datetime actually.
Yeah.
Actually, perhaps we should do this. We go in here and say this is a datetime, and we run our preview again, and hopefully, let's see. Yep. Now, because now you see the T and the time zone in here, and if I hover over these, it now also says datetime. See, we found mapping error, and so we could fix it directly, right? So that's actually quite nice. So you see the connections if they are correct, and you also see the properties as well. Okay, and basically, if there are any errors, then you would see them visually. Or it would also complain if there are mapping errors, it would actually complain if you click run import. So you can run import from here, but you can also run import from the top, right? So here is on the top. I really like these highlights somehow. It's fun.
Very satisfying.
You can run import here, and then it basically says ran import successfully, computed or processed these files, so many rows in the file. And because I already imported the data, it doesn't say nodes created, but it says basically stuff updated, right? Property set, and yeah. So we didn't add new data to database, but we just updated data that was already there. So you get this results, which you can also pull back with the show results here on top. Right? So it explains a little bit about this, and also that if you run this multiple, no, that's actually on the next page. If you run this multiple times, then that it doesn't destroy your data, but you can rerun this, right? So it also talks about a little bit on downloading your model and your model with data. So download model downloads the JSON file for the mapping, and download model with data actually downloads the zip file where the CSVs and the mapping file are all together as such, right? And then it has a little bit section here on when you outgrow data import, what do you want to do then, right? Either bulk import for hundreds of millions or billions of rows in your CSV, or connectors to connect to Kafka or Spark or other BI tools or something like that as well. Right? And with epoch load procedures, you can also import JSON or data from other databases and so on. Right. And then a bunch of FAQs. What is when there's an error about files missing here? When you refresh the page, then you just re-add them. How do I replace a file? By just using the same name and dropping it in here, a different file. And then the database that data import loads in, you can set the home database of a user, which then allows you to import it into that database for this user. And with this, we finished our first guide. the input guide. 10 minutes exactly, right? So good.
Yeah.
And then the next one gets us to the explore guide, right? So, and at the beginning of the explore guide, it basically talks about let's load the Northwind dataset again. So we just run this import quickly, and should be pretty quick. And then you can basically here click on explore results, or it should take us automatically when I switch between the two. It takes us actually to the explore, right? So if I switch
Nice.
from here to here, it takes us to the explore UI as well.
That's really cool.
And then it says basically when I opened this the first time, so I because of my switching back and forth, that's kind of not what happened. But it has this show me a graph visualization, which basically just shows a example graph. And it also talks about, I'm not sure what's taking so long. I think I messed up something.
The input is complete.
The import is complete.
Oh yeah, you run it. Okay.
So all this stuff is in here.
Yeah.
I think it's just some hiccup. Ah, there it is.
Ah,
okay,
here we go.
I probably just forgot to press enter or something like that, right? So usually it's really quick. So we can try this again. Clear scene. Show me. Oh yeah, so it just was still the drop down, and I just forgotten to press enter, so we could have waited for hours. So it shows you a first graph in the legend panel, which is this panel on the right. It shows you how many nodes are in the scene. So you see there's 38 order nodes, 52 product nodes in the scene here, and there could be other nodes as well from our Northwind dataset, right?
This is just a random. Yeah, sorry. This is just more or less a random snapshot of your graph. It didn't analyze it anyway, so you will just see a couple of nodes and edges.
Actually, if you want to know what it is, there's a saved cipher for show me a graph, and then you can actually look it up. It's the first 100 patterns in the database, basically, right? So that's what it is. Okay. On the left sidebar, we have the perspective drawer, which kind of where you can control and select which things are in the scene, basically. You can add new ones. And on the top, you have the search bar that we just used for our sample here, but you can also use for other things, right? So let's look at the search bar a little bit. That's where the graph exploration starts. So you basically, if you have an empty scene here, then there's nothing there. And then you could say, I explore this. We already did the show me a graph, clear scene as well. So if you do right click here and clear scene, then it cleans out. And so this is only show me a graph here. So which we already done. Okay. Good. So now let's find the supplies product, which is part of a category, right? So that's kind of part of our Northwind model that we can fetch, right? So which is shown here in this. So this is easy to search because we will start just clicking on this, and then we can basically find our supplier, then supplier to product, and product to category. So we basically just clicked our query together, then I hit enter, and then we see our graph, right? So the green nodes are categories, the blue ones are suppliers, and the yellow ones are our products as such, right? Right. And it says there's one part of key products that are disconnected from the others, right? This one down here as such, right? Can you tell which category it belongs to? Okay, what category is this? It's
categories were the green ones.
Yeah, exactly. So it's dairy products, right? Right. So there's also a little hint. Right. So the dairy products form a subgraph of their own. So they have obviously not the same suppliers, or it's very specific suppliers. I worked actually in an IT project in dairy transport, and they have very specific requirements for their tanks and tankers, and so you can't just put olive oil into a milk tank, because they have
No,
very
and
strict
yeah,
requirements, and so it's understandable that they only
raw milk is very delicate. It goes off super
Yeah.
quickly if you don't keep
Yeah,
the right
exactly.
temperatures. So
Exactly.
yeah,
So it's understandable
pay
that
attention.
these suppliers are very
Yeah.
specialized, right?
Yeah.
So cheese and yogurt and milk and all the other
Yeah.
stuff, right? Okay, so now we can do an even more specific search. Okay, let's see. Specific values. You can also search for specific property values. For instance, we want to see which categories to have customers in London that order discontinuous products. Okay, let's clear our scene again and see if we can get this together. So it says customer, city, or customer, London. Can we do this like this? City.
I think, yeah.
I think it's like this, right? London, okay. We can also autocomplete. That's our start node. And then we can do discontinued true. So that would be products. On a product discontinued true.
So
first from the city, we need to go first to the orders, right?
Go to order, yeah.
So product discontinued. See? True. See? Yes. Tab. And then to category. So this is basically the same pattern that we have down here, just with different colors, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
and if we run this, we see basically all the people, all the customers in London who ordered discontinued products. So it could be customers that we need to notify, basically, that these products have been discontinued, and perhaps suggest them alternatives as such, right?
Yeah, the products are yellow in this case. So you see the yellow products ordered by the light pink nodes, which were the customers.
And our question is, when you run a search pattern, you can see that one category has more discontinued products ordered by customers in London than others. Can you tell which one? And it's
again, categories were green.
Yeah, exactly. So it's meat or poultry, right? So
yeah, so
meat
4
and
products.
chicken. Yeah, exactly. So that's what we found. But there's no hint. We can't.
There's no hint in this case.
So node inspector. So if you look at these nodes, there's only the title available here in the visualization, right? But if I want to see more, there's a node inspector that's down here on the bottom, and we can basically double click on a node and it pops up in the node inspector, and then we can see all the properties. We can edit them as well. We can also edit the label, and so that's really nice. You can also add nodes and properties, right? So that's also possible as such. And we also see the data types here, like Boolean, string, and so on. We can also see the neighbors of a node, and also the relationship connecting this node to its neighbors as well, right? So that's more stuff. Okay, that was the node inspector. So try to bring the different categories into the dataset. Okay, so we clear our scene. And can you remember how to pull out the different datasets of the categories in the dataset? So click on category,
category,
hit enter. Right, just different categories.
That's what it is.
That's all that we need, right? 8 nodes.
Yeah.
Found. You should have 8 category nodes visible. Context menu allows you to do things with them. So let's start with expand. So let's pick one of these category nodes, and then there's this expand here. So we can expand all.
You did a right click on the node.
Yeah, exactly. So I right clicked on this node. So for a context menu, so that's the part of relationship. If you zoom in here a little bit. So I just expanded that. That was easy because categories have only one type of relationship, right? So we can also find the shortest path between two. That means we need to press, I think,
Control and
command or
command.
control and click, right? So I have to click them both while holding down my command key here. And then in path, I can find shortest paths. And then we see here the shortest path between dairy product with mozzarella cheese in order. And then they also were ordered, the mozzarella cheese was ordered with coffee, which gets us then to beverages, right?
Yeah.
So that's something.
So same order containing the two different products out of the two different categories. And I hope while you're watching this, you're not hungry.
Yeah. Actually, our job was to connect confections and condiments. So that's what we haven't done.
Okay.
So we can basically find the shortest path for this one as well. And it says
it's also same order containing two different products out of two different categories.
Yeah, exactly. The order titled White Clover Markets. Is this order titled White Clover Markets? No, we probably need to find a customer for this order, right? So we expand to the customer. Oops, no, we selected, had too much selected.
You did order, yeah. Okay.
So, unfortunately, there used to be undo actually in Zoom Bloom, but I think they have disabled it. So where's our...
True, there used to be undo. I just wanted to say maybe you can undo, but...
Yeah, there used to be undo, but for some reason it's not working anymore. So we can also just select all these order nodes by clicking here on this one and then just dismissing them. Dismiss. Right, and we can pick our two nodes again, get our shortest path back that we just had, and then actually I wanted to just expand the relationship of, not part of, why order, expand, something is wrong here. So I click on this order. First of all, why is it over there? Something is weird with the offset, I think. I think it might be the guide that changes the offset actually. Because also the context menu is so far.
Yeah, the context is a little bit far away. Yeah, I was wondering. Here it is.
So I think it's the purchased relationship. Exactly. So this gives us now
the order. The customer.
The customer, right? Okay. Good. What's next? The legend panel on the right side contains a list of elements on your data set. We already talked about this a little bit. And then we can bring additional nodes into the scene and expand from the context menu. So
do some styling.
Yeah, I think this is meant to click on the categories here on the side, so they're all selected, and then expand them all as part of, which should give us more products, right? So that's now like all the categories with their products. Try to change exactly styling for relationships and nodes. Try to change the color from the product nodes or play around with different sizes. So we can pick these product nodes, and you click on this yellow icon here, and I can change the size, make them bigger. I can change the color to light blue or something like that, or orange, or even pick something.
Exactly, I just want to say you can always
that you want to
find your color with the underneath
nicer green
code or RGB. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So nicer green, for instance, right? And then you can also change the text that's showing on a product node. For instance, we can say product name show on your node, right? So and then it shows the product names here. And I can also change the text size, interestingly. I think that's also a new feature.
That could be new, yeah. I'm not sure.
The text size gets bigger. Yeah, I think that's new. Interesting. So that's a little bit of styling. We can do rule-based styling as well. And rule-based styling is basically changing node colors or sizes by attributes, right? So, so in this case, from the list of available attributes, you want to see discontinued. And what does it want to do? You can also the size or the text.
I think make them smaller or something, maybe.
I just want to see what I want to change.
I think this next step.
Okay.
I think this is just explaining, because it says at the bottom in the next step you learn how to use filters.
Yeah. Discontinued and condition. When discontinued is true, we could, for instance, make the color a lighter green or something like that, right? So
yeah,
then these nodes should have a lighter green.
Or make them smaller.
And so if you look now, there are like certain nodes which are discontinued, which have an light green.
Yeah.
These here, right? Okay. It says basically choose whatever you want to style, right? Of course, there are also other attributes like numbers or strings where you then can select basically, okay, this is kind of just a unique set of attributes that I want to color, or sizes based on like price. So for instance, you could say rule-based and add another rule-based pricing. Could be reorder level, product ID. Where's my unit price, right? So we can see like this is unit price distribution. And for instance, we can make the size of the node based off the range actually of values, right? So I have a range of values, and then I want to apply the size based on the range. And we can say we really cheap ones we make really small, and the really big ones we make really big. And then we get like nodes, product nodes sized by unit price, right? So if you see the big ones are really expensive and the small ones are cheaper. Smaller ones are cheaper. Okay. The next one is filtering. How are we in time? Yeah, I think we need a little bit more, right? Because you also talked through it. I think 10 minutes is probably also a little bit optimistic with all the text, to be honest. So let's assume you want to place an order of 100 items for a seafood category, and only requirements it's in seafood, and there are 100 items available now, right? So let's clear the scene and say category name seafood. See if this works. Yep. Input we can expand all here, and then it wants to apply the filter, and we want to click on this filter icon, which it should actually highlight for us, this one here. And then we can say add a filter of product for units in stock, and then we see a distribution here, right? And we can say we want to have at least 100, which works, I think, okay-ish with a slider. Yeah, right. So all the ones that are not 100 should actually be grayed out a little bit. Oh no, apply filter, then they're grayed out, right? Yeah. So you see only 3 remain. And then you can actually, if you want to really get rid of them, then you can dismiss them. And now we could actually pick these 3 items and create a new order, for instance, from them, right? So you can actually program Bloom that it can actually also do real operations on the data. So you could actually make it interactive, that I now say in scene actions, create order, and then it would pick the selected products and perhaps in selected customer and create an order for this customer for these products, right? So that's something that would be possible as such. Cool. That is filters. And the next one is the slicer, which is used for timeline views and things like that. So let's clear the scene. And what do we want to do? Bring out the products and the categories. So we say category tab 1 tab product. So all the categories on all the products. And so you can use this basically both on date time information, but also on numerical values. So the slice is this icon over here. Let me just push over like the other things. So I have a little bit more room. And then the slice is this icon here. And for some reason, the same happens that happened before, Alex, but I'm not really sure how we fixed this the last time.
But you need to
that
do
the slice is showing on top. Did
do
I
we
reload
not-
last time? Do you remember?
But don't you think we have to add a range?
No, it showed up on top. It should not show up on top. It should show up on the bottom.
Oh,
but
wait,
I'm
that's
not
what I
really
mean.
sure
Yeah,
what.
I think we reloaded the scene that helps.
Okay, let's do this again. Query to product, enter, and now slicer. Now it shows up at the bottom. It's some UI error, right? Okay, and we want to slice by unit price. So we just click on unit price. So we see this distribution from 260 from 2.5, basically, right? And now we can use the histogram here to show or hide parts of the graph, right? So I can basically say, I only want to have stuff that is like up to 7, from 2.5 to 7 point something, right? So that's kind of our little slice. And if I move this over, then it basically shows always these nodes that are in the range here, right? I can also make it smaller again and so on. It also shows me for each of them how many nodes are visible as such, and also total number of nodes I think that are visible should also be somewhere. I can't see it right now. And the other things that we can do, there's playback. So if you play this now, then it automatically moves over the range and shows the nodes in a, how they appear and disappear based on the range changes as such.
Over time. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and you can, there are also other play modes like expansion and so on. But let's finish this guide and look at our last guide, which is query fundamentals. So query guide should get us the data importer Northwind dataset, and we go now to our query tab here, right?
So you always have to do the same, the presets with the Northwind dataset. So if you have done them, you can just continue with the guide. But if you just jump into this one, you will have to load the dataset before you can go further.
Yeah. Cool. By the way, Tarek also asked, I've missed that question. How do you open a ticket with Aura? So you can basically, if you go to your Aura instance, there's this support icon here that you can click, and then the help icon, which opens the support menu here, and then that gets you to the support portal as such. Sorry, Tarek.
And then at the very top of the support portal, it says create ticket. So you cannot almost
not miss it.
You can, but it's like see the forest amongst all the trees. I guess it's like very big, but you might miss it if you don't know where that it is there.
Yeah. So let's have a look. Go to support and create new tickets here in the middle. Right?
Create it exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So now we're at our query tab for the last guide, and so what are we doing here? So here in the query tab, we have initially our database overview, what data is in the graph. So we have 2,000 nodes, 7,000 relationships. So it talks a little bit about this. A node can have multiple labels, and this list shows all the labels in the database. And we can click any of these, right? So it says click on a product node here. So it fetches us all the product nodes. So similar to what we had just in Explore, we can quickly fetch this. Only now that we see also the underlying. Oh yeah, sorry. And so now we can actually see the query, the underlying query that fetches the data. So Bloom runs basically the same query, but we don't see it there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In the guide, what's also nice, you can actually run these guides, these queries also from the guide. So if you don't click here,
cool.
for instance, then you can instead run them from here, and it also runs these queries from the guide.
That's very cool.
Relevant later, right? But I think what would be good if these icons would not overlap so much with the actual query text. Here, let me take a screenshot. That is not so helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, and what we can do is here, and you can also push the query in the Ceph editor. So if I click on this icon here, then it pushes this over here, and then we can actually read it, right? So this query is, we want to get products from the category with the name produce, and to return them, we assign it to a path variable and return the path, right? So we can run this. We can run this, by the way, either by clicking here on the little run button on this one that says run button, or we can hit command or control enter, which I mostly do to run the queries, right? So these are all the products in produce and the relationships as well, right? So it has two views here, the graph view that we just seen and that we've also seen in Explore, and then a table view, which gives us a tabular representation of the data that we returned as such, right? What's important is relationships are only shown if you return either a path or you give this relationship a name and return this name of the relationship as well, right? So for instance, if I don't have the path here, if I only return product and category, P and C, so you can see that you can also edit it here, then it would only return the nodes. So I need to also give this a name and then return rel. Then it would also return the relationships. Otherwise, it only returns the products and the categories and not the relationships. Or I use the path like we did here before. And,
or you do a return star and it just returns everything.
And only the things that have names, Alex. If I don't pass here, even if I have P and C, because the relationship doesn't have a name, it only returns
yes, of course.
things.
Yeah. You
So
still don't get the
if I put the rel here, then it would actually return the rel as well.
Yeah.
So you need to give it a name, otherwise it's called anonymous. It's an anonymous part of the pattern, and it won't be returned as such.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Okay, showing tabular results. So these are the graph results, which are automatically computed from the result of the query. And if I want to also see like tabular results, I could do this by returning scalar information like attributes, for instance, or aggregations, right? So if I push this over so that if you can read it, it basically has the same pattern that we just had, just it returns product name and category name, right? So, and then if you run this, then we get a tabular representation of the data,
specific
right? So then we can basically use this to look at these specific properties, right? Or if I, for instance, also return, let's say, what was it, unit price on p dot unit price, then you can also see this as well. Right?
Yeah, you could. I don't know if you go there, but you can order by unit price descending, for example, so you can see a list of how much what costs what.
Exactly. Order by p dot unit price descending, and then ordered in this order
most expensive
from 53 to 10. Yeah. So dried apple is more expensive than tofu. Interesting. Right.
Yeah.
And dried apples are actually more expensive than dried pears, than organic dried pears.
Organic dried pears.
Interesting. And tofu and long life tofu is cheaper than sauerkraut. Right. An important thing here in the query is we are here using now variables like P and C because for the product and the category, because we use them later, right? So we use the C here for accessing the category and P and C for returning data as well, right? So that's why we need to name them. If I forget to name this, then it just complains that the variable is not known, right? So then I must not forget to put it in. And then it also says that if you prefix our query with profile or explain, then we can also see, besides the table, also a query plan. So it shows us basically how the database executed this query as well, right? So which is also interesting from that perspective. If I want to kind of figure out why a query is slow or exactly. Yes. But it's good to know that this exists. And the raw option is basically just like the raw request response. It's mostly not so necessary. So you can also see your schema, your data, not just in the kind of this structure, but also in the visual structure. What does it look like? So you basically have this information in here in the database that you can do with core DB schema visualization to see what this data model looks like. And if we want to look a little bit at the different companies supplying Northwind with products, we want to see which suppliers supply products from which category. So we basically spell out this pattern, supplier to product to category, similar like we did before in Explore. And then we return the company name and the categories. And here we use an aggregation where we say collect all the distinct category names into a list. And if we return this, then this gives us for each supplier company basically the list of category names that they cover as such, right? And we saw there are some suppliers who only have dairy products. We've seen this before, right? So which is interesting. Right.
Oh, some have lots.
Okay. Yep. So part of a category returns the company names, supply. Even though you specify the product node in a match query, no information about the product node is returned because it's not part of the return, right? So we have the product node here, but we don't do anything with it. We just skip over it. We just have it as connecting the supplier in the category.
Just to
and perhaps you're
write
only
out the
interested
pattern
in supply
sort of.
Yeah, exactly. So perhaps you're interested in only suppliers of a certain category. Then you basically would say, I change the category name here. It's a little bit to what we had in the beginning. And then we could say, this is basically the suppliers for this category as such, right? And then we could order them or whatever we want to do. And so, and then the last two queries or last three queries are a little bit more complex, a little bit over time. So we can either keep this as homework for folks or really quickly go over that, which
we can do one quickly, Alex, and then we can do one quickly, okay, and then we say.
Then let's do this one because that's a recommendation query. So the text also explains what it does. Basically, it looks as customers that ordered the same product. So we kind of say these customers have the same ordering behavior, right? So we have customer 1 and customer 2, and we draw out the pattern via order to product, and it's the same product in the middle, right? So customers that frequently order the same products. It's the same kind of restaurant, for instance, right? So it's perhaps like different dairy shops or so that are similar, right? And then we don't want to have the same customer pair twice. And it's kind of counts how often did this happen, and the customer and the products. And then the sum of these occurrences for our top 5 products, we pull out, and then we can actually see these two companies have a similarity of 184. So 184 times they order the same product. And these are the top products they basically had in their joint basket as such, most frequently.
Cool.
Right? And this kind of now allows us in the next step to create a similarity graph between these customers, and then we can cluster them, and we can identify basically other attributes that make sense to, for instance, recommend things that your peer group has bought, like people in your own cluster have bought, but that you have not bought yet, right? So something to explore new opportunities. So it goes a little bit deeper into these kind of queries. And with that, we actually took the whole time. So I think talking through them, but also in general, I think 10 minutes are a little bit too
especially when you want to understand
for
and
these,
want to
for these queries, for these guides. So I think you should actually think about like rather 15 to 20 minutes each. If you really want to understand what's happening.
Exactly.
And play around.
That's right.
But we have full completion, right? So you see 100% completed on all 3. So that's good.
Check.
We got to the last page for all of them. So we did our gamification, gathered our points, and all the loot along the way. And
exactly.
So I think it's a good feature that has been launched today. And I think lots of people will find this useful in getting more familiar with the Neo4j user tools and learning how to do things there as well.
And it helps a lot. So if you are interested in that, then check it out. If you are interested generally in learning more, then always there's the Graph Academy, which is like a good upgrade or next step from there. Lots of many more guides from fundamentals to data importing, data modeling, and then some language specific training courses, JavaScript, for example, or Python, where you can then, depending on what kind of environment you're working with or what you want to learn how to use Neo4j with, then this is, I think, a good next step to continue the guides, or you just, take your own data set, play around with it, learn yourself, and trial and error is also working.
Exactly. And Ashwa asked about how he can show his project. In Discord, there's actually a show your project channel. And I think that would be a good place to show off projects initially that you built, so that others can have a look, and also get some feedback from other folks in the community as well.
Yeah, I think that's great. And if you have something that's a little bit more ripe, then you can obviously also submit the 2 notes where you're going to show it off and present what you did when you feel like this is ready for an audience.
Exactly.
Yeah. With that, thank you for watching.
Super.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you all.
The guides are cool.
Thank you, Alex.
That's very, very helpful. And I think I see you soon on our live stream. We have something happening this week on Thursday, actually, on the 15th. Will and I, we talk about geospatial data, and my colleague Sid is doing some learning sessions. So they will take place, I think, 14th, so in 2 days. APEC, that is 14th here. APEC training course, knowledge graphs with ChatGPT. So if that is working for your time zone, then hopefully we'll see you there. And this is the geospatial data on Thursday. And with that, wish you all a great day. Have a good week.
Thank you so much.
Hope you got through that nicely. And I'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody.
See you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.